The college football experience, New Mexico Lobos 2024 season preview on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times the amount you enter with their brand new Pick 8. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
This is Coach June Jones, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
College football experience, New Mexico Lobos 2024 season preview. It is interesting times in Albuquerque, New Mexico. YouTube.com/the college experience. Remember, we're breaking down all 134 college football teams in the FBS with a solo podcast for each and every team in the land. And now today's episode is 1 hour dedicated to the New Mexico Lobos. Same amount of time we're going to give Alabama. We will give these very Lobos. And yeah, I think it's an exciting time to be a Lobo fan. It's been some tough times lately. It's been some tough times, but I think you finally done it. You finally done it, you crazy bums. All right. Look, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging, Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
Double that price. I mean, what do we got going here in Albuquerque? David, the Rocky Long days have been over for a little bit. They tried. Danny Gonzalez, former Rocky Long guy. He's now at Arizona. I got to meet with Coach Gonzalez last year. Great guy. But I think they got the Rocky Long guy. You know, no disrespect to Coach Gonzalez, because I think he's a solid coach. But they called up the old DC under Rocky Long, the guy who was also, not only was he DC, prior to that, he was defensive backs coach. So he kind of did both at once. Might be known for the guy that put Brian Urlacher at a certain spot, and the rest was history. He's now in the Pro Football and College Football Hall of Fame, and that is the great Bronco Mendenhall. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for the DFS god himself. When college football rolls around, you better believe we're playing DFS every single week. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, home brew making, Tobacco Road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
What's going on is excitement. I was really looking forward to New Mexico State, Mendenhall versus Kill for a long time.
So close.
So close. But I can tell you this. New Mexico's got the blueprint for this thing to work to me. Like, I watched the pit in college basketball, and I'm like, their fans are awesome. Randomly last summer, I think I was watching, just had my YouTube recommendations or something, and like I was watching a Rocky Long coached New Mexico team in the late 90s, and University Stadium in Albuquerque there was packed, and it was awesome. And I was like, man, they don't have a pro team. They can do this right. They can do this right. They just need to get it going again. And Bronco Mendenhall was hired, and former Oregon State defensive back Bronco Mendenhall. I know his dad played and coached at BYU, and obviously, after Oregon State, I think he had Mendenhall's brother was won a championship with the Washington Redskins in '87. So just a family of football, and that's Matt Mendenhall, by the way. But Mendenhall just familiar with Rocky Long and winning ways at New Mexico. What do you make of this hire?
Oh, there's definitely reason to be excited, but I just think they have to pause it a little bit, and it's going to be a slow process. Okay. New Mexico is a very hard place to win at. If you're, reminiscing of the glory years, those 11 years, I think that Rocky Long was there. Well, his overall record was 65-69, and they were just 6 games over 500 within the Mountain West. So it's not like they were, winning double-digit, win seasons year in and year out. His best season there was 9-4. Granted, he took him to
there was
5.
There was only 11 games back then, though.
Okay. Yeah. Granted, he took him to 5 bowls within 6 years. Only won one of those bowls, but look, we all think this is a home run hire. It fits. It makes sense. There is a blueprint to improve and at least be kind of 7-6, maybe on a good year, 8-4 type team. So New Mexico should be excited, but I think there might be some growing pains this year, maybe next year, before things can really kick into gear.
I'm going to make a case for something here, but first I want to tell you folks that you're listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And look, make sure to check out the Sports Gambling Podcast as they've started their top 10 fantasy football preview series with the quarterbacks and the tight ends episodes already out there live, ready to check out. It's never too early for the National Football League. So check that out. Back on the College Football Experience, talking Lobo football. I would say this though, man. I'm a Rocky Long guy, but I think Bronco Mendenhall is a far superior coach than Rocky Long. I think Bronco Mendenhall, when you look at what he's done, and luckily youtube.com/the college experience, I've been able to dial up, you know what I mean? Some slides to catch out, to look at what Coach Bronco Mendenhall has done, because this was a home run to me. I was like, Oregon State had an open, and they went with their DC, familiar with the program. I can't knock them for that, but to me, I think he is one of the better coaches in college football. He's 135 and 81 in 17 seasons. He's got 5 double-digit win seasons. He's had 2 losing seasons, but one of those was a bowl season. So he's only had one real clunker, and that was year 1 at UVA. He's bringing with him Jason Beck, who comes over, who's Robert and I's top assistant for forever. This is his 10th season with Mendenhall. He's also getting Nick Howell, the DC. It's his 16th season with Mendenhall. I mean, this is what I mean though, is I was comparing that. I think this is the best coach they've ever had, or at least in my lifetime.
I think you're probably right, but I'm trying not to be the wet blanket on this episode, but is it fair to have a little bit of concern that Bronco Mendenhall has not coached for a couple years now? So he basically, the whole NIL era, the whole transfer portal era, that was kind of just coming onto the scene in 2021, his last year at UVA. And by the way, his last 2 years at UVA, 5-5 and 6-6, not exactly setting the world on fire. In the
at
ACC,
UVA, they'll kill for that.
In the ACC Coastal, which wasn't the SEC West either. Are you a little concerned about, let's face it, he's kind of an old school coach. I totally agree. Perfect hire. I think it's going to work out fine. Are you a little concerned about the old school coach in the new world of college football?
I'm not, because I was originally maybe coming into this episode, but doing my work, I thought, and I did hear him on a radio show, I think it was last year. And, he's living in Montana fishing for the past few years, riding horses, all that good stuff. But they kind of were way more aggressive in the portal than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Than I thought they would be and thought they were.
Well, they had a lot of players departing, which look, whenever there's a coaching change, a lot of the old players are going to leave. So that's kind of to be expected. So he needed to fill out a roster.
That's true. But I also would say, you're giving a guy that I always thought was great at, yes, coaching up players
For sure.
but
Player development.
identifying talent. Like you go back and say what you want about his 5-5 and 6-6 season there at UVA. One of those was a COVID season. He got them wideouts. I remember watching, and I know one of them I think passed away in the shooting the next year, but they hadn't had players like that in a long time, like since Herman Moore, and I'm just like, wow. And you're looking like these are 3-star wideouts. Yeah, I think he has a Brennan Armstrong. He converts from safety to quarterback.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I think he has an eye for talent. Now, obviously, year one, I don't know really what to expect, but I can tell you this: if I would almost push back in a way and say, I think this guy really knows football, and if you give him, and now you have this crazy portal where everyone can go. Now, yes, he had to fill out a roster. I almost think that's a benefit to the better coaches where they can say, I want this guy. I want that guy. You know what I mean? As opposed to just sitting there before kind of stuck with the roster you inherited,
Yeah, I mean, things are a lot different from when he took over at UVA in 2016. His first year at UVA was 2-10. He took over from what was his name? The guy at William & Mary now, Mike London.
Yeah.
He took over a program not in great shape. They were below 500 for a couple years in a row, which is, well, actually pretty much his whole tenure there. But his first year in Charlottesville, it was a struggle. This go around, sure, he's been able to hit the portal and I guess you could say maybe improve the roster some, but also a lot of the players on that team, they were able to hit the portal and leave, unlike with UVA where most of that roster was pretty much intact. So that's why I just say, I think, let's be patient, New Mexico fans. I think they know this. They know it's not an easy place to win. I think this year could be a struggle, but brighter days are definitely ahead.
Let me push back a little bit here. I like this. Danny Gonzalez runs exactly what Bronco Mendenhall runs. So Mike London does not. So I think the roster might be, yes, it's probably not a good roster. A lot of the players left, but at least they kind of know, like from a personnel standpoint, I do think at least they know it's similar. Their defense they run, they're both Rocky Long guys. Danny Gonzalez was a Rocky Long guy. So to me, it might be a faster build up than say UVA was when Mike London and them, were awful, but also they had never ran at the 3-3-5 or anything like that. So I think that might help in the transition.
Sure, it might help. I think it's a good segue to talk about returning production. And New Mexico, as far as their whole roster, 41% of last year's production returning, which is 124th in the nation. On offense, just 26% of last year's production, which is 129th in the nation. Defense, slightly better, 53% returning, which is 100th. Only San Jose State and Air Force were worst within the Mountain West. And I mean, just look at, I know we'll get to each position, but they had 6 offensive linemen transfer out. I mean, talk about starting from scratch at arguably the most important position other than quarterback, the offensive line. So this year is going to be a challenge, but the coaching has been upgraded big time. So you got to love the hire and you got to be excited for the future.
And look, during that Mendenhall run or Rocky Long run, I'll even they did have some big time wins. All right. Mm-hmm. This is a team now, granted TCU and UCF weren't the same as TCU and UCF now, and SMU for a matter of fact, but they still won games against Missouri, Texas Tech, Baylor, BYU, multiple wins against BYU and Utah, Arizona, 2 wins against Arizona when they were actually making bowl games. So they're not, there's a little bit of a blueprint there, I think. And I think they got the right guy.
I think they could be Wyoming, right?
I think they could be better than Wyoming.
You think so?
I think they could.
You think I might have a little bit more resources?
Albuquerque is a much bigger city than Laramie. I think it's
everywhere is a much bigger city than Laramie.
That's what I'm saying. I think you can sell that. I think you can sell that better than and you're also you touch Texas, you touch Arizona that are strong football states.
Yeah, but there's definitely a lack of in-state talent. And sure. How come no coach has really been able to win big time there? I mean, the Rocky Long years, yes, they were very competitive. They were a tough team, and those wins show that. but still every year he was, a game or two over 500 for the most part. After Rocky Long left, we know Mike Loxley failed miserably at New Mexico, going 2-26 overall. Bob Davie, he had some years there, I think a year where they went 9-4. But overall, 35-64 overall. That tells you why he didn't last.
Though, like Rocky Long, and I'm a huge Rocky Long guy, but his offenses were never legit. Mendenhall, whether you look at UVA, whether you look at BYU, this is why I think he's better. He's going to have a really good defense. They're going to be physical, but that offense will fly. I mean, Mendenhall's the guy that got Mac Brown fired. He ran for like 500 yards against Texas, right, with Taysom Hill. That's why I think they've never had a coach this good to me.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably fair. As long as he can adapt to college football in 2024, that's why I'll say it one more time that, New Mexico fans should be very excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks, look, we're going to talk about the Lobos offense, defense, special teams, and go game by game on the schedule. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the New Mexico Lobos season preview episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8's now live. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times the original amount you enter. You can now use specials on boost and all flexed entries. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football. I know that's still a couple months away, but CFL, MLB, NHL going on all right now. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, Circa Sports is back with the Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa contests have no rake. Circa Millions, pick 5 NFL teams at ATS each week and compete for $6 million, or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th. And use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP at footballcontestproxy.com. But yes, and if you don't have a trip booked for Las Vegas, that's Las Vegas, Nevada, not Las Vegas, New Mexico, before football season, the ultimate contest weekend is a great time to go out, hang out with the SGP guys, Shawn and Ryan, and enjoy some open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. Get out there, but check out Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, looking at the offense now. Offensive coordinator Brian Vincent is now the head coach at ULM. He came over with just 1 year in Albuquerque, but he got this thing kind of going. That's the irony here. Covering these teams, we've done these previews for years. I feel like 2 years ago, the New Mexico defense was awesome. 3 years ago, the New Mexico defense was awesome. The offense was horrible. Last year, they got the offense started. Defense fell apart. 63rd in scoring per game, 27.3 points per game. That was 7th best in the Mountain West. 99th in yards, 4th best in the Mountain West. 72nd in passing, 8th best in the Mountain West. And the 3rd best rushing team in the Mountain West. And 18th best rushing team in the nation, 192.7 yards per game. You would think they might have been scratching for bowl eligibility with an offense like that, but it just did not work out like that. The offense returns just 2 starters this year. And by the way, they need to go back to that retro logo, which is awesome, but they only returned 2 starters, wide receiver Caleb Medford and Trace Bruckler.
You could argue with like quarterback Devon Dampier, who played in 9 games last year. I mean, I know he was, Dylan Hopkins was there, took the majority of the snaps. But I mean, Dampier, he definitely is like at least a half returning starter. But no, obviously, when you see 2 returning starters on offense, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, and you had players leave. You referred to the whole offensive line leaving earlier, but DC Tapscott, great name. He's heading over to the North Alabama Lions in the FCS at the quarterback spot. This one was huge because Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt was a stud running back for them last year.
Finished the year rushing for over 200 the last 2 games.
He goes to the Arizona Wildcats, who are on the schedule. Brent Brennan landing him after they had lost Jonah Coleman. Also lost Christian Washington, a running back, to Coastal Carolina down there in Conway, South Carolina. Receivers, they lost Desna Washington to FIU, Ezra Sexton, Jake Godfrey to ULM following Coach Vincent over, Deuce Jones to Grambling, Caden Pope gone as well. Tight end, Wyatt McClure also going to ULM. And then the O-line, which, man, their O-line was pretty solid because Purdue came calling for DJ Wingfield. UTSA came calling for CJ James. Illinois came calling for JC Davis. Arizona State came calling for Shanko Matata. I don't know. And ULM took the other 2, Devin Smith and Sam Tesla. I mean, the O-line must have been pretty fire.
You saw the rushing stats. They were, I mean, yeah, when you get the Big 10 calling and the Big 12 calling, I mean, they lost 3 offensive linemen starters to, Power 4 schools, and then 1 to UTSA and 3 reserves. I think I said 6 O-linemen earlier. It's 7 offensive linemen transferred out. I know he's got a lot of offensive linemen coming in, but that's tough, man. That's tough to have so many moving pieces on the O-line.
Yeah, and one thing I want to highlight here is, Campbell in the FCS, subscribe to the FCS College Football Experience, which I also host. The Campbell Camels have had some of the best recruiting classes over the past few years. Not this past year, but the previous 2 or 3 years. They actually charted in the top 70 of FBS, right? Well, Mike Minter left, and I don't know if Mike Minter has a connection with Bronco Mendenhall, but you're going to see some of those Campbell Camels on this roster. They go out in the portal.
Hold on. I also want to know what's the connection with ULM and UTSA, because those 2 schools raided New Mexico.
Well, ULM, the OC left for the head coach, Brian Vincent. He's the head coach there. I don't know about UTSA, but they brought in Soljai Mavia. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he is a quarterback, and I forgot to put BYU. He comes in from BYU, so Mendenhall's connections. And I wonder if there's any connection. That's Mavia is probably a common name, but to Mavia, that's projected to be a starting quarterback at USC, who was with UNLV last year.
And that quarterback got some snaps 2 years ago. He didn't get any snaps, no pass attempts last year, but he got a handful a couple years ago. So there's a little bit of experience there.
Yeah, and that's another thing we didn't talk about is Mendenhall, not only familiar with New Mexico. New Mexico's right next to Utah. Got a long time. He's got a pipeline, I bet, through some high schools there in the great state of Utah. The running back positions, I'm intrigued because Eli Sanders at Iowa State, I thought showed promise. Also, Javen Jacobs from Arizona State, and then this guy is I was impressed by him in the FCS. Nakori Rogers coming in from Campbell. We'll see what they do at the running back spot. The receiver spot, Shawn Miller comes in from Illinois. Isaiah Jones was with Jason Beck at Syracuse last year. He comes over. And then the offensive line, which they needed to load up on. Baraka Beckett coming in from the Campbell Camels as well. Wallace Namba from FAU. James Bailey from Texas A&M. That's a good get. Richard Pierce from ECU. I don't know what he's thinking to leave ECU for Albuquerque, but Elvin Harris also from Campbell. Like I said, there's a lot of Campbell Camels affiliated with this university now, but Mackenzie Agnello from Texas A&M Commerce and Juwan Singletary from Grambling. Also Tevin Shaw coming over from the Houston Cougars. I don't know what to make of all of those, but I can tell you I'm intrigued on a few of those. I'm intrigued at the quarterback spot. I think Eli Sanders was a very good get. And then I am intrigued to see how Rogers will do at the running back spot as well. But also I like Isaiah Jones with Jason Beck's experience there.
Yeah, I'd say, if we look at position by position at quarterback, you mentioned Mavia coming over from BYU. I'm kind of assuming he's going to be the backup, but there should be an open competition with Devon Dampier. I think Mendenhall has something to work with Dampier. Dual threat. I think he could become a pretty nice Mountain West quarterback. I agree with you with the running back position. I think they'll be fine, even though Krosky Merritt leaves. Andrew Henry is returning, and then we got Eli Sanders and Jacobs and the guy from Campbell. I think running back, they can be just fine. And receivers also. one of their only two lead returning players was the leading receiver last year, Caleb Medford. Pair him with a couple of those P4 guys. I think they'll be pretty good at that position too. The real question is the offensive line. Look, they brought in volume, which is a good thing because some of those guys might pan out, some might not. A lot from the FCS ranks. Obviously, offensively, the offensive line is the biggest concern.
Yeah. Defensively, but before I get to the defense, I want to tell you folks out there that the New Mexico Lobos season preview is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. So claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Shout out to the chat. Remember, you can hop on over. I see Kaysen in there. Let's go. Little Dirt talking about desert football. You know we love desert football here. Chad G, shout out to Chad G. I know, yeah, hell of a good guy. And yeah, so defensively, which is Mendenhall's thing, they're 103rd in scoring defense, or 123rd in scoring defense last year, 12th dead last in the Mountain West, which was shocking because Gonzalez actually, like I said, if you look the years prior, it was the offense that sucked. The defense was actually really good. 99th in yards, 9th best in the Mountain West, 7th in pass defense in the Mountain West, 83rd overall, 9th in rush defense, 103rd overall. So defense was definitely the weak point of this team last year. Surprisingly, because, well, you know, I shouldn't be that surprised. I was at Mountain West Media Days in Vegas there, and I'll be there this year too. So if you're going, hit me up. But they didn't return a lot last year defensively. So like they had a pretty good defense the previous 2 years, but I remember looking back and saying, I think there was like 2 returning starters on the defensive side of the ball. That might explain some of it.
Not a recipe for success usually.
Well, I can tell you this: they returned 6 on the defensive side of the ball, and like
a lot
I
more
said,
than on offense.
well, and like they're not switching systems.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, 3 on the defensive line: Gabriel Lopez at the DN spot, as well as Kyler Drake at the end. Nose tackle Tyler Keene is back. Linebacker Dimitri Johnson. Tavian Coombs, who will be playing that Urlacher spot, like the stud spot in that defense. And then Christian Ellis at the safety spot. So breaking in new corners, but kicker and punter also return if there's a close game. Luke Drzecki and Aaron Rodriguez back. So, hey, am I crazy to think the defense will be vastly improved?
I think they'll be improved vastly. Let's see. But the fact that they do have a decent amount of returners paired with what they got in the portal, I think there is hope that this defense can make some big strides compared to last year.
Yeah. And they lost in the portal. They lost, you know, I'd say the biggest one was Marenko to Kansas State.
But he was their leading tackler last year.
Yeah. And then obviously Zach Morris, Saved by the Bell. Where's Slater? Right. But Zach Morris and Jamaris Lewis to UTSA. What the hell is going on over there?
Right.
Also, Austin Ackle, a linebacker, going to ULM following Coach Vincent. But I thought they did a great job in the portal. Yes, losing Marenko and those defensive backs, it stings a little bit, but that they went out. They added some key pieces from some big time schools. I thought, man, like. One of the things that jumps out to me. So if you're watching youtube.com/the college experience, hit that like and subscribe button. I see 125 people watching right now. On the D line, they go out and get Garrison Walker from Auburn, Mosa Tutele from Cal, Dejan Benton from USC, and Delvin Brandt from Old Dominion, as well as Akiki Olorumfume from Weber State and Antonio Harris from Indiana State. So bringing in a couple of FCS guys, but I could tell you this. Before, New Mexico really didn't bring in a lot of like big time guys from Auburn and USC and stuff. So I'm intrigued there. And then Linebacking core, Tariq Austin Cave coming in, or I think it might even be Cave from West Virginia. Randolph Kapai from Nebraska. And this is where I light up a little bit here because Pitt defensive backs under Narduzzi are all studs. I feel like when they transfer out, you'll see them transfer to other schools and like they all do well at other schools. Cavante Royal coming in, Cameron Watts coming in from Texas Tech, safety Dominic Tatum from Washington State, and Ish Burdine from TCU, as well as Nigel Williams from New Mexico or from Northwestern. And Noah Avenger, who was very good. He was out for the year last year, but 2 years ago was at San Diego State and was very good. What does San Diego State run? They run the 3-3-5. They run Rocky Long's defense. So I thought they did a great job in the portal on the defensive side of the ball.
Completely agree. And the one thing last year where they really struggled, they only got 15 sacks last year, which ranked 129th in the nation. So the pass rush must improve. I think they helped address that in the portal, bringing in some of these guys on the edge. I mean, you get a pass rush, and how much does that help everybody? That helps your secondary, because I think they can be good on the run. I think that interior D line, I mean, is not only do they have the three guys returning, but they also brought in the guy from Cal and Auburn, from USC, DeJon Benton. So I think the run defense is going to be definitely better than last year. The main question is, can you get some pressure on the quarterback?
Dude, when's the last time they brought in talent like from major schools like this?
It's pretty impressive. I think they definitely won the portal on the defensive side of the ball,
and that's Mendenhall's forte. I'm intrigued to see because, like I said, under Danny Gonzalez when they were winning like 3 games, with the exception of last year, that defense was really good. Now we kind of expected them to regress. We didn't think they would regress that much. So I almost think that the defense will be kind of the strong suit of this team. Let's take a look at that win total. Whoa, what? Yes, folks. The win total sitting at 2 wins over at DK, and that is, by the way, I believe juiced to. It's actually. Where did I write this down?
It's juiced on the over a little bit. -120 on the over, -110 on the under.
Yeah.
So nothing too crazy.
Plus 3,500 for them to win the Mountain West.
A sprinkle? Come on.
I mean, we've never seen Mendenhall with the transfer portal. Just saying.
Yeah, throw $10 at it, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like let's talk about this. Where would you power rank the Mountain West coaches? Where would you put, like, you have Spencer Danielson at Boise. He's coached 4 games in his life as a head coach.
Yeah.
Craig Bull's no longer at Wyoming, right? It's Jay Salvell, who I think will do well, but you got Tedford at Fresno. You got Niamontalolo, who's proven to have great years at Navy. Sean Lewis, who's been great at Kent State. Barry Odom, great first year at UNLV. Had some bowl eligible seasons at Mizzou. Jeff Choate coming into Nevada, but he was good at Montana State in the FCS not long ago. And then
your guy at Air Force,
Troy Calhoun and Jay Norvell at Colorado State, and then Blake Anderson at Utah State. So like, could you make a case that he's my first thing that jumps to me is Troy Calhoun is super elite. Jeff Tedford, super elite. But
I mean, Mendenhall's at least in the top 3 or 4. For sure.
Yeah. So that's for sure. Like, why not throw like $20 on it then, just for the hell of it? You've never seen him with the portal like this chaotic, where he could just go out and get whoever he wants.
I said 10, you say 20. How about 50?
I like this. And Lou Holtzman has something to say about that.
Well, I don't get the brain man cold, but
yeah. I mean, he's definitely top 3 or 4 coaches, and I think you could make an argument he's the best.
Which is why I think when I see the over under of 2, I was saying earlier, I think this year is going to be a struggle, but I think they can clear that very low bar. Is it a coincidence that his last time, in his last stint, his first year at UVA, they went 2-10?
See, I think, and that's lazy though, because like I said, there was a complete overhaul of what they wanted to do offensively and defensively. They brought in Robert Anai. They were doing, you remember under Mike London, they were like a ground and pound, just a shitty offense, right? and you bring in Robert Anai, who's now at NC State, but Jason Beck was his guy. So it's like you're basically running Anai's offense here, and you didn't have the personnel for that, and you couldn't hit the portal for 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
And the same defensively, you're doing this radical shift to this 3-3-5, and so I call me crazy. I think the over, without looking at the schedule, is a slam dunk.
I think they can get to 3 or 4 this year. So I don't know if it's a complete slam dunk, but I mean, come on, if you bet the under just one win, I think New Mexico can cobble together at least a few. Looking at the schedule, which I know we're about to soon, I think it's a pretty challenging schedule, but there's some potential victories in there.
Yeah, let's talk to the athletic director because let's hop on over, look at the schedule. Montana State is like one of the best FCS. Like, call me crazy. If you threw Montana State in the MAC, they probably win the MAC. Like maybe Toledo gets them, but I'm saying like they're as good as the second tier team, like the second best team in the MAC to me. And they go to the FCS playoffs year after year. So that's a super wild game to put on week 0 for your brand new head coach. And
it's a very important game too. I think if you're trying to hit the over and maybe even flirt with going bowling, I think you have to beat Montana State at home, but that is no gimme. I'm sorry.
Yeah. By the way, disregard those numbers on the right. I forgot to power rank these again. The struggles of having a child, but you got them winning against Montana State.
I'll give it to them. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a close game. I would not be surprised if this is one of the FCS wins, but it's at home, and I like New Mexico here.
I'm taking it too, but this is going to be like 24-21.
This
is not going to be a blowout, so I'll take them.
I'm actually looking forward to this game. I think it's a fun game.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun game. Future Mountain West game. Look, all these super conferences loading up. Mountain West still at 12 with some like kind of deal with Washington State and Oregon State. Just add Washington State and Oregon State, get it to 14. Here's what I think we should do. Then UTEP, New Mexico State 16. If we're going to have these 20 team conferences, which I think is inevitable. Then North Dakota State, South Dakota State up to 18, Montana State up to 20, and that's it. You're good. I don't want 20 team conferences. I'm just saying if this is what's going to happen, then give me that. All right.
There's some interesting matchups there. It would be fun.
Yeah. I got to want to know. You got to want to know. And now they take on Brent Brennan in Arizona with Noah Fafita. Now you are getting a leg up on them because you played week 0. Arizona's pretty loaded though. Any chance?
Come on. No. Arizona's going to steamroll them. I think I saw the line today was 30.
Yeah. Now they do have 3 bye weeks in here. If you look, like they got the September 7th bye because the week 0 game,
right?
October 5th, and then November 23rd. But yeah, 1-1, and then their athletic director still doing them no favors as they head to the Plains, Auburn, Alabama. Now New Mexico State beat Auburn last year, so why not? Why couldn't this happen? All right.
No.
No.
Give me Auburn.
Hugh Strip Club Freeze coaching the Auburn Tigers. So yeah, 1-2. I mean, the beginning of the schedule is kind of brutal.
It is.
Like you could easily be 0-4. Then you are home to Jeff Tedford and Fresno State.
They beat Fresno last year, surprised them.
Yeah, that is true. Not taking it this time though.
Probably not.
1-3, and then the this is one. I don't know where you're at with this one, but
I think they're going to win.
I think they're going to win too. We got the what is it? The Rio Grande, is it? Rivalry here. Rio Grande rivalry that dates back to 1894. All right, this is fantastic. This is why they need to be in the same conference.
They really should.
They need to be in the same conference. Come on, let's get them going. But they're going to Las Cruces with the message to these Aggies.
And like New Mexico State's won the last two, but before that little 2-game winning streak, New Mexico, the Lobos had reeled off 3 in a row themselves. And I think overall, like if you look at their overall record, I think New Mexico's owned them.
Yeah, I can tell you that their overall record is the Lobos 73-35-5 against State. Take that, and Mendenhall's not putting up with anything else. All right,
I think too many people are looking at New Mexico State's record last year and not and not saying this is a winnable game. I think it's definitely a winnable game. I think the coaching advantage is certainly with the Lobos here. I like for them to go in there and pull off the upset. Actually,
I do too. I actually really like their chances to do that. Now comes a big one. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to our Air Force preview, but Rick Baum's normally been on the over. He is on the under this year.
Well, they are last. Air Force is last in the nation in returning production. New Mexico, not a whole lot better, but a little bit better.
I just feel like Calhoun, but I'll tell you this, man. Not Rocky Long, Bronco Mendenhall did have their number. He had Air Force's number when remember they were all in the Mountain West, right? Back then when BYU was in the Mountain West and Air Force was in the Mountain West, they'd play every year. He had Air Force's number. And if you look at it, Rocky Long had Air Force's number. San Diego State was the team they could never beat. They could beat Boise State some years. I think they were like 4-6 against Boise under Calhoun. But I do think it's something with that 3-3-5.
And I think you can see that they have a bye week going into it, so they got some extra time to prepare.
It's a home game.
I think they steal one of these home games that you see on the schedule. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna say it's not this one though. I'm gonna give this one to Air Force.
Give me the Lobos to get one. They are going to steal one of these. They're going to steal either this or Wyoming later on exactly. November 2nd. They head to Logan Maverick Stadium there on October 19th. I think this game's winnable. Am I crazy?
I'm going to give it to the home team here. Utah State is ahead of where New Mexico is at a program right now, and also they're at home. Is it winnable? Sure. I mean, Utah State is probably a 5-7, 6-6 type team, so I do think it's winnable. But I think going on the road here is going to be a little too tough. Give me the Utah State Aggies. Tough little back-to-back here too.
I'm taking one win right there between Air Force and Utah State.
Wow.
So that's the third win. I'm on the over. Fuck you. All right, let's go. They're then in Fort Collins taking on Colorado State. This is a loss. I think Colorado State is gonna make a bowl this year.
Yep.
Then they're home to Wyoming, and since I gave one to Air Force / Utah State, I'll say loss here.
This is where I have them getting the win and getting their third victory in the over at home versus Wyoming.
And then they're heading to the Snapper to take on San Diego State.
By the way, Danny Gonzalez was 2-2 versus Wyoming. So even those years when they were struggling, they won their fair share against the Cowboys.
You sold me. Give me a fourth win. Give me a fourth win. All right. Then they head to the Snapper in San Diego. I mean, this is winnable.
It remains to be seen how quickly the Aztecs can, under that new coaching staff, how quickly that offense will start clicking. I'm going to go with the Aztecs here, though.
I am too. Then they're home to Washington State.
I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're ready to beat a team that was in the Pac-12 last year, and the Pac-12 was probably the second best conference in the land last year.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, they get a bye week before going to the island. And this is one, when I did the Hawaii preview with Patty C, I said, kind of terrified of this game because I'm on the over with Hawaii, but you're getting Mendenhall pretty much by year. This is year 2 Mendenhall by then. And you get, this is their bowl game. They're not going to be bowl eligible. They get the bye week right before that. And they're going to say, hey,
lines up pretty nicely.
Give me a little upset special on the island.
I don't think I have them. No, I have them winning at New Mexico State. So, I mean, here's where I think they're either a 3 or a 4 team win this year. Team this year. So this one is going to either dictate whether it's 3 or 4. You know what? I kind of like New Mexico. I'll say they do win here and they go 4-8.
Over all day though.
You have
I got
a
a
5.
I think 4 or 5. I think that Wyoming game 4.5 is where I would set this thing at.
If you had to have it at 5, then I think they have to be one of your strongest plays in the whole country.
Well,
you're talking about 3 wins more than the line.
Oh, I definitely love the over.
Yeah,
you'll see me on unlock.
I like it. I'm on the over too. Let's go Lobos.
There we go. And then, how long before a Mountain West championship?
When's the last Mountain West championship that New Mexico won? I guess you have to go back to the Rocky Long era. Did he get one?
I don't even know that I think
or that was
they
part
didn't
of the
play
WAC
for
too,
a
right?
championship game either. They didn't have the championship games back then. So it was like, did he get a share of the title? He might have.
So Bronco Mendenhall had UVA playing in the ACC championship that one year, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty remarkable. Granted, it was the Coastal, but
Rocky Long has 3 Mountain West championships.
Oh, wow.
Wait, no, those was San Diego State.
Yeah. I was going to say with New Mexico.
Yeah, back then, see, because they didn't have championship games, so it makes it. I guess they didn't win any then, because Boise wasn't in the mountain or in the. I don't know. I'd have to do a deep dive on that.
We'll need a big New Mexico fan to enlighten us there. But look, I'm not going to come out here and say they're going to win a Mountain West championship in the next 5 years. Are you?
No, especially because I think Oregon State and Washington State are going to be in this conference.
Probably, and that'll make it a lot tougher to win one if you're New Mexico, for sure.
But they could play in one, because I think the more teams you add, that schedule discrepancy.
We just saw UNLV playing one, so why not?
Yeah, I think the future of the Mountain West is very bright. Like with I think Niumatalolo is a very underrated coach. I think that hire was great. I think Mendenhall hire was great. I think the Choate hire at Nevada was good, and I think Salvell is going to work out in Wyoming. It's Danielson that I'm a little like, okay, will that work out at Boise? He was 3-1 as an interim, but like, man, you look at Barry Odom's first year at UNLV. I love the Sean Lewis hire at San Diego State. My only thing is I don't know how long he'll be there, because I think a bigger school will come calling. But I think Norvell will get Colorado State bowling. Calhoun just got an extension. I think this conference, and then you add in Washington State and Oregon State, I think it could be a real.
Just looking at coaches, if you compare it to the American or the Sun Belt or the Conference USA or the MAC, the coaches in this conference are far better than some of those other ones, which is why the Mountain West is the top G5 conference right now, for sure.
Yeah. Like what AAC, like if you had to do your top 3 coaches compared to Troy Calhoun, Bronco Mendenhall, and Tedford or Niumatalolo,
there's really no comparison.
Yeah. Folks, I'm on the over. NC Nick's on the over. Get on over there. This is lock it up, man. What if they lose to Montana State though? I would love that FCS Montana State game if it was in October.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I think you're sweating. I think if they lose to Montana State, you're definitely sweating that over ticket. But there's enough winnable games, as you mentioned, like between the Mexico State, Air Force at home, Utah State, Wyoming, Hawaii, maybe even at San Diego State. I think there's still a path for at least 3, even if they lose to Montana State. But you're going to start to sweat, though, for sure.
Yeah, so get them out there, week 0. Let's go. Let's take these Lobos. Folks, this is the New Mexico preview. All right, make sure you give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. Follow away. Remember, YouTube.com/The College Experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. As well as if you can hop over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review, we'd certainly appreciate it. Lobo fans, get on over there. Come on. And don't forget to check out the College Basketball Experience, because the Pit is one of the greatest places to catch a college basketball game in America. And we got you covered for all things college basketball when the season, a ton of off-season episodes going on. But when the season starts, every single night of the season, we're talking college hoops live on the College Basketball Experience. So check out that. Check out the FCS College Football Experience. Check out the College Baseball Experience. Got their championship game today between Texas A&M and Tennessee. And also get the SGPN app. Check out the Stadium Heads podcast. All right. Myself and Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, just dropped our Mountain West and Pac-2 Stadium episode where we go through, talk about the histories of the stadiums. We love Albuquerque and Dream Style Stadium. We think it's one of the more underrated. So check it out. And I think you'll dig that episode, especially from a viewing standpoint, youtube.com/@StadiumHeads SGPN. Check out that. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. And folks, until next time. Next up, San Jose State, the Spartans. All right. As we go through all 134 teams. So hop on over and check us out later today. Me and CJ Sullivan talking Sparty football. Until next time, folks, this is the college football experience, Lobo style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.